everyone! Today I'm talking about a new topic that I've never really gone into detail about, and that is tube feeding. So I thought I would introduce myself to any new people who are, who have never seen this channel. So my name is Maggie. I have inflammatory bowel disease, or also known as Crohn's or colitis. I happen to have Crohn's disease. So I make videos all about that, all about ileostomy bags, and whatever procedures I happen to go through in my lifetime. So tube feeding is one of those procedures that I used to do back in 8th and 9th grade. I haven't done it in about 6 years now, I think. It's been a long time. So in this video, this will be the first time in a very long time that I throw a tube down. But I thought I would talk about what tube feeding is, what it's about first before we get into the actual procedure. There are different types of tube feeding. I know that there are some where a tube is directly inserted into the abdominal wall, like right into the stomach, but that's not the one I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about the one that's generally known as the overnight feeds, where a tube is thrown down your nose, down your throat, and into your stomach. And you can either take the tube out in the morning or you leave it in for a few days, and you're delivered formula overnight at a slow rate, and you get your nutrition, or you get what you need to gain weight, or whatever purpose you're doing this for. There are different ways that the formula can be delivered to you. There are pumps and there is gravity feeds. I've done both of them. The pumps, what happens is the pump kind of sucks the formula from the bag and pushes it through your tube into you. It can be kind of loud when you're not used to it. The first few days it's kind of loud, and sometimes you get a good pump, sometimes you don't. I personally am not a fan of the pumps, just because I had a few that had a lot of issues. Like, it would say that my tube was clogged when it wasn't, and it beeps at you, and you don't want that in the middle of the night. So what I wound up doing was doing gravity feeds, which is just the bag. It's almost the same exact bag that you would get for the pump, but it's just a bag. Like, you don't have to connect it to anything. It just goes right to your tube, and it winds up using gravity, and it basically drains into you. So my doctor was a little bit worried. She said that the formula might run into me too fast or something like that, but you can control the rate. You just have to learn, like, how fast it goes when you put it up at a certain height, how fast it goes when you put it down lower. Generally, if you put it down lower, it's going to go in slower. So that was, if it was a weekend and I could sleep in, we put it down low on like an IV pole or something like that. And if it was a school night, I was up late, I had to be up early the next day, we'd put it up higher so it would go faster. Another thing I thought I'd mention is tube feeding can seem really scary. I did not want to do it for the longest time. My doctor wanted me to do it, a year before I actually started. And it definitely is intimidating. I think a lot of people think it's going to be painful. I think a lot of people actually associate it with the NG tubes that they use in the hospital. Those are a little bit bigger. They're actually a lot bigger, because I don't know if any of you have seen NG tubes or had them. They're usually pretty big, pretty stiff, and they usually hurt your throat, because I've always had a sore throat the entire time I've had them in. But tube feeding, they use a lot smaller tube. In fact, this one is a little bit bigger than what I used to use, but this is all I could find on Amazon, so, and they're usually a lot softer, so, but they've never caused pain. Might make you gag a little bit, but after you get used to it, it takes a few days, but you'll get used to it in about a week, and after that, it'll seem really simple, throwing it down and all that. But it is scary to think about, but once you actually start doing it, it really does become a lot easier, and the benefits you get from it are worth it. If you're underweight, it'll help you gain weight. I remember I was so excited when I put on like 3 pounds in a week. I was like, oh, yay! And if you need different types of nutrition, it definitely helps with that. It helps with a lot of things. It makes you feel better, so... And definitely for those of us who have trouble eating just because, you know, our stomachs are bothering us, this helps a lot. And it doesn't fill your stomach up right away. Like, you don't feel full in the morning. You feel like maybe you just had a tiny snack, but you didn't eat a giant meal because it's going into so slow. Alright, let me show you the actual tube so you know what it looks like. I got a really long one. I didn't realize. I think the one that I had was like half the size of this one. Whatever though. Okay, so here's the one end. This is the end that actually will be in your stomach. I'm hoping you can see. There are two little holes and they're staggered. Can you see that? So occasionally the hole will be blocked by your stomach or, you know, some kind of food in your stomach. So I guess that's why it would be useful to have two. I don't know. And then usually tubes will have the little markings for how many millimeters have been, you know, are in there at that time. I don't know. This tube doesn't have it. Oh well, I didn't get the best tube. And it also has this little end where you can cap it off. And sometimes they will come with like a little V where it'll have two places to be capped off. I don't really know what that's for, but just remember when you do your tube feeding, you're going to have this one open for the bag tube to go into. Just remember to close the other one if you have a double-ended one. So we forgot that a few times. The other thing that this tube doesn't have that most of you guys will probably have with your tube is a little wire that goes inside. This thing will be open. It'll have a little kind of like a tab thing sticking out, and a wire will go through the entire thing, and it's going to make it stiffer and easier to put down. So I guess I'm going to be winging it with this one because I didn't realize it didn't have the wire, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to put down. But the good thing about the wire is after it's already in your stomach, you already have it placed, you pull the wire out, and it feels a lot softer in your throat, so it doesn't feel like anything's there. Now, one important thing to remember when you first put in a new tube is to measure it before you start throwing it down, because you want the tube to actually be in your stomach. You want the end of it in your stomach. You don't want it farther. You don't want it in the next thing down. You don't want it in your small intestine, and you don't want it really in your esophagus. I never understood that because I felt like if it was higher up in your esophagus, it would just drain down into your stomach anyway, but my doctor always said try to aim for the stomach. And there are ways to tell if it's in your stomach, but I'm going to show you how to measure it first. So I have to stand up. Oh, my knee's just cracked. Sorry about that. You can see me. Okay, so what you're going to do, take the end of your tube, the part that would be inside you, and you're going to put it up by your earlobe, run it across your face to the tip of your nose, and stand up straight for this part. Keep it on the end of your nose, bring it all the way down, and point out where your, I guess it's called the xiphoid process. It's that little, right there, the hard part. And then take the end of the tube and bring it down to your belly button, if you have one. And you're going to take it about halfway between that. So right about there. And that's where your stomach would be. So then you're going to put a piece of tape. I've already put the piece of tape on there. And what happens is when you put the tube in, that little piece of tape should be at the end of your nose. So, alright, so there are some things you might want to do to prepare for putting the tube down. Things that I used to like to do. Check with your doctor if any of this seems like it might be bad, but it's just general stuff. Like, I like to get a glass of water. I used to have a straw. I used to collect crazy straws from Friendlies, but I don't have any more of those, so I guess I'm going to be sipping out of the cup. But straws are easier. And I like to sip water when I'm putting the tube down because it's like you're drinking it down. I like to keep my tape ready. I will talk about this later. There are different ways to secure it to your face. This was my favorite way. I have my syringe ready. The syringe is used in finding out whether the tube is actually in your stomach or not. And then your doctor might tell you to get pH paper, and that's part of the whole whether it's in your stomach or not too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need. Oh, one thing you might want to get is lubrication for the end of the tube. It helps the tube slide down easier. I tried looking on Amazon, but the results that were popping up were kind of freaking me out, so I'm gonna do it with water. So I'm just gonna dip it in the cup of water. So it has a little bit of, something to slide it down. One other thing you might want is either to be by a sink or in your bathroom, or you might want to get like one of the hospital buckets. I know I have a few around the house, just in case, because I don't want to lie to you, it might make you gag the first few times. And on one or two occasions, I remember throwing up all over my dad. So don't be too worried about that, though. If you do throw up, it's not that big a deal. Like, you just wait a couple minutes and try again. But after, I remember it being almost like exactly a week that I got used to the tube. So it got to the point when the tube was in, you can't feel it. That's how I felt. Right now, I'm probably going to feel it because I haven't done it in such a long time. Alright, so let me get ready to throw it down. Okay, so it's kind of hard to talk when I'm putting it in, but I just wanted to mention some things before. I actually did it. Sometimes when I throw it in, it feels like I'm hitting a shelf right about here. So it might help for you to move your head in different directions, and it might help to swivel the tube a little bit when you're doing this. It's going to feel a little bit awkward and weird in your nose. It's going to tickle a little bit. But I was trying to do this downstairs earlier, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it on camera so I can catch it when I do it. But it's going to feel a little bit weird the first few times. Okay, so you keep going until you get to your tape, which I'm almost there, thank God. No. This isn't too bad. I'm only gagging a little bit because I haven't done this in such a long time, so I have to keep swallowing it down and get used to it. Then you push it in. And I'm there. Okay, so let me take a sip of water here. Okay, so I'm just letting you know this is what it would feel like the first few times you do it. When I would do it after a few weeks, like, you really can't feel it as much as you feel it like the first time. Okay, so as you can see, I made it to the tape. Oh my god, there's a tube down my throat. That's so weird. Okay, so the tube is in, and there are different ways that you can tape the tube to your face. What they gave me was this thing called Duoderm, which I did it for a few weeks. And the problem is, I would take the tube out the next morning and go to school. So all that Duoderm, that giant patch on your face, there was a big adhesive mark, so I wound up not doing that. And I wound up just using this regular tape. It's the kind that rips off, so hold on. It's kind of hard to hold this thing in. I'm like, I probably should have gotten the tape first. Okay, so what I do is I take two pieces of this, really small, and I used to put one here, and then I used to put one over here. I totally feel like I'm in a hospital right now because I'm doing this. Okay. Okay, so my tube is in. As you can see, I can talk fine. I definitely do feel it right now, but it's already starting to feel less like there's a tube in there just after a couple minutes. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. But we're going to take the syringe that you have and put it on the end of your tube. And what you're going to do is suck a little bit up until you start getting either food or whatever's in your stomach, till you start getting that out. I know it's really gross, but that's basically how you find out if you're in your stomach. So once you get that, you're going to get the pH paper, rip a little piece off. You really don't need much for this. So, and then you're going to just dribble a little bit of what's in the syringe on the paper. I'm not going to show you that because you don't need to be grossed out. But see how it turns like a green-blue? What I was advised is that I should be in the range of 6 or 7. It looks like I'm a little bit higher than that, a little bit more basic. But I would say to you, go by whatever your doctor says. I'm just about in the right range, so maybe a little bit over, but I should be fine. and I know it's in my stomach because I measured. I'm all good. Okay, now you can attach your bag of formula to your tube. Generally, you're going to have this bag. It has an opening at the top that flips open. You pour in however much formula your doctor says to use. I used to use, I think, 3 cans that had 250 calories each. I would do 3 cans a night, and on nights where I was running out of time, like I stayed up late, I would do 2 cans. So that would go into the bag, drain it to the end of the tube, and then clip it before it starts pouring out the end of the tube, and connect the end of the tube to this. And you would hook it up to the pump. Your doctor will probably show you how that works. I remember mine just kind of looped around, and then you would set it for however, whatever rate you wanted it to go at. And then gravity feed, you basically just drain it to the end of the tube, attach it, and then, unclip it, and it starts draining into you. So, fairly simple with that way. I think that's why I really liked it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to take the tube out. It's pretty simple. I don't want to scare you guys when I do it, but I wind up coughing a lot because it kind of gets rid of the feeling for me of gagging. So let me just take the tape off. Oh. Okay. So here we go. And if you want some water to help you, that might help too. But I like to do this as fast as I can because I honestly think the pulling out is more unpleasant for me than putting in. Although neither are really that unpleasant. So let me pull it out for you guys. I did it! Yay! Okay, so the tube is out. I would put this in a sink and start cleaning it. The way that we used to clean it is we would take a cup of water, say like this, and you would add a little bit of dish soap or antibacterial soap. Add a little bit to that, and then take your tube, put the end of it into the cup of water, and then take a syringe and just start sucking water in and pushing it back out. Sucking it in and pushing it back out. And that gets the inside of the tube fairly clean. And then you want to rinse off the outside too. So, you're ready to go for the next time. They usually say on the pack, let's see, I think it says it on here, single use. But my doctor had me using them for 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, we would throw it out, get a new tube. And after 2 weeks, the tube does kind of get clogged up a little bit. Even when you clean it, it sometimes doesn't last. So it's better. It's always nice when you start a new tube because you know it's going to work well that night. You're not going to have any issues with it. So yeah. Alright, so I hope if you are starting tube feeding soon and are feeling a little bit uncomfortable about it, I hope this video helps you see that it really is fairly simple. It just takes a little bit of getting used to, but after a while you're going to be a pro at it. I got to the point where one time where I had to go to the emergency room and they told me I needed the big NG tube. I actually threw it down myself because the nurses like to just throw it down there. I like to do it nice and slow, and I said, you know what, let me take care of this, and you take care of whatever you have to. So I wound up putting it down myself, and it felt much better when I did it, so. Okay guys, so that is how you throw a tube down when you are doing tube feeding. I hope it makes you feel a little bit more confident if you are just starting this for the first time, or I hope if you are, an old pro at this, that maybe some of the tips I've given you help you when you start doing this. So good luck, and I hope you all are feeling healthy. Bye!